all the same steps that I would if I'm doing a normal equation. Since I'm trying to get z by itself, like it's telling me I got to solve for z, so that's what I'm trying to get by itself. I see parentheses, I see variables on both sides. Which of those things do I have to do first?
Parentheses.
Exactly.
Parentheses.
So we're going to distribute first. Because the reason I'm going to distribute first is because the z that's inside of those parentheses, I can't solve for z until I get him out. It's like you got to break him out of jail. Got to get him out in order to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I have a negative p and 51, so that's going to become negative 51p. And then I have negative p times positive z, so we keep the negative, negative pz. So it's distribution, even though we have different variables, that's how it's still working the same way. We're distributing. Everything on the right stays the same. Okay, now I'm trying to get z by itself. How many z's do we see?
Oh, we subtract by dz, right?
2.
Yeah, there's 2 of them. One is over here. We got to get it over there. So just like Ascanio said, we're going to subtract by dz. We do that on both sides. So now I have, can I put anything together or do I kind of have to keep everything separate?
Separate?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're supposed to do fracturator, something like that.
We will have to do that next, yeah. But for now, we're keeping everything.
You have to get the z's to one side.
Yeah. So we have all the z's on one side. Now we're good with that. So now that they're all on one side, we can do what Ascanio just mentioned, which is called factoring. So I wanted to review this because this is kind of the most important thing to remember. We want to get we want to get the z's alone, right? There's 2 of them, but we only want 1. And in order to do that, we're going to have to use factoring. However, now that I just noticed, before I factor, I actually want to do one thing first because I want the z's by themselves, but what else is there?
The 51.
Yeah, that 51p. We're going to do that first. That way we have all our z's alone. So how do I move the 51p to the opposite side?
Add it to the other side.
Good. We're going to add it. Okay, so now I have negative pz minus dz. Can't add these together because one has a variable, the other does not. So I'm not adding the 2 numbers, I'm keeping them separate. Okay, now we can do what I was talking about before. So now, let me rewrite this. Now we're going to do the step that's called factoring. When you factor, you take what you want. So which of those things on the left side, what do I want alone?
The
The
z's.
Z.
I want the z's alone. So I'm going to kick them out. They're going to get kicked out of the party. And everybody else can stay. So what do I put inside of my parentheses?
Negative p minus d.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Just like that. Do I have questions on that step?
No.
So all you do is like get 1 z and then put it
Yeah.
the parentheses.
Exactly. It's kind of like when there's like 2 ways you can think about it. It's backwards distribution, Because if you did it the other way around, if you went from step 4 up to step 3, you would distribute, and that's what it would give you. So you can think about it like backwards distribution, or kind of like you're pulling those two z's out and bringing them together. You're kind of pulling it out, and when you pull them out, they become 1. Alrighty, last step now. Well, yeah, last step. We've got one last step to get z all alone. What should I do?
Divide.
Divide negative p minus d to both sides.
Perfect. The z is being held together with the parentheses by multiplication. Parentheses mean to multiply. So since they're being held together with multiplication, we're going to do the opposite, which is to divide. That's going to cancel everything that's in these parentheses. So I'm left with z equals 84 plus 51p over negative p minus d, which is definitely a lot, and that's why these problems are not easy at all. You really have to be very, very careful and organized when you do these steps so that your final answer is correct. If at any point, go ahead.
How I did it was pretty much before you factored. How I did it, I just divided negative p minus d. Well, it has negative pz minus dc, and then I just got my answer.
Okay, so you kind of, in your head, you did a step in your head and you got the right answer. I like to write everything down because I don't trust myself. I don't trust my own head to do things correctly. So I have to see it on paper in order to make sure I did it right. Is there anything here that somebody would like me to clarify what I did? Okay. All right, so if you're still stuck on the homework assignment, I'm just gonna say, like, one bad grade on one assignment isn't going to end the world for you, as long as you make sure next time you do as well as you can. So if you're doing poorly on it and you're still stuck and you just don't know what to do, I don't want you guys to stress out too much if you got a bad grade, but make sure in the future we are still doing well on other assignments. So as a reminder, the assignment for this type of problem, that one's due tonight at midnight. So make sure you have that done. Now today, we're moving on to a different topic, which is solving inequalities. That's today's topic of the day. And you guys will
It's
see
on
that
Khan Academy, or you gonna post it on Teams?
the homework due tonight is on Khan Academy.
Okay.
Homework is always Khan.
Is it this that we doing right now?
This, you're getting ahead. So the one that we already, so this literal equations, which was the bell ringer, that one's due tonight. And then the one about solving inequalities, I posted it, which is due on Friday. So you'll have 2 assignments.
It's hard.
This one, I know. The next one, though, you'll see that one's a lot easier. So hopefully if you didn't do well on the literal equations one, you'll do better on the inequalities one, because I promise you that one's way easier. And you'll see today how it's easier. All right, so inequalities are very, very, very similar to equations. The only difference is that instead of an equal sign, we use inequality signs. So an inequality is a statement that compares 2 expressions that are not strictly equal by using one of the following inequality signs. So rather than using an equal sign, you're going to see these 4 symbols, and then the last one is the one that tells you that it's not equal to it. So I want you guys to write down everything here. I'll give you guys a little bit of time. I'll give you like 4 minutes to write this down. And just make sure that by the end of the week, when you guys have to take your quiz, this is memorized, because you're going to have to know it. Okay, so take 4 minutes. I'll go ahead and put a timer on. So these symbols, you have to memorize them, but if you memorize one, you can memorize all the rest of them because they all are related. So if all I need to do is memorize one of them, the one I think you need to memorize is this first one, the less than. I always think of the less than symbol as like it looks like an L. If you kind of like tilt your head a little bit, it looks like an L. So that's how I always remember that this one is my less than because it looks like an L. And then all you have to remember is that if there's a bar underneath it, that means it's less than or equal to. And if it's going the other way, that's how you know that it's a greater than. If it's going the other way and it has a bar, then it's greater than or equal to. So as long as you remember which one's the less than symbol, you'll be able to automatically remember all the other ones. So don't stress out about memorizing it because really it's not going to be super, super hard. So like I was saying before, inequalities are going to be the same exact thing as equations. It's just that now we have to think about the symbol and which one we're going to use. So I want to go ahead and I had 2 word problems. We're just going to do one for now. We're going to do this one. So can I have a volunteer read for us problem number 1?
Hurry.
All right, go ahead, Elvis.
Trina is buying 12 shirts for the drama club. She will choose a style for the blank shirts and then pay an additional charge of $2.75 for each shirt to have the club logo. If Trina cannot spend more than $99, how much can she spend on each blank shirt? Write and solve an inequality to find the possible cost of each blank shirt.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So let's figure out what do we know, what do we don't know. So what is something I can highlight, something I know?
She is buying 12 shirts for the drama club.
12 shirts. Good. What else?
She has to pay an additional charge of $2.75 for each shirt.
Perfect. And then the last thing I know?
She
She
spent more
can't
than
spend more than
$99.
99.
Cannot spend more than 99. Okay. So is 99 the limit or can she go above?
Limit.
The limit.
That's the limit. Okay. What do I not know? What am I looking for?
The possible cost of each blank shirt.
Okay. So what I don't know is the cost of each shirt. So that's how I know that's going to be my variable. My variable is whatever I don't know. Since I don't know the cost, I can make that my variable. So I'm going to put it C. C is the cost for one shirt. All right. Now I can think about how I'm going to write my equation. So if I'm this girl, Trina, and I'm at the store and I'm going to buy 12 shirts, I don't know how much the shirts cost, but I do know that each shirt is going to have an additional cost on top of it. So whatever the cost is, I'm going to add $2.75. And I'm going to do that for each of the shirts. How many shirts are there total? 12 shirts. So how many times am I going to do C plus 25? 275.
12 times.
12 times. So this whole thing happens 12 times. And then I know that $99, that's my limit. If $99 is my limit, do I have to go greater than 99 or less than 99?
Less than 99.
Yes.
Good. Less than. Can I be equal to?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So it's my limit. I can go up to 99. I just cannot go a single cent more than that. So here's there it is. There's my inequality. That's all I had to do. So this is very similar to the ones we've been doing before. Last week we did a lot of word problems with equations. The only difference is that you have to figure out which symbol you're going to be using in each scenario. So in this
So that's
case,
all? And then
that's all.
choose. Oh,
And now that we have our inequality all written out, now we have to solve it. So we're going to solve it following the same exact steps that we use in a normal equation. Only difference is now you have a symbol. So I want you guys to try it because you guys already know how to solve equations. Take 2 minutes to see how far you can get solving this inequality. Same exact thing, you're just going to get C is less than or equal to something. 2 minutes on the clock. And if you get an answer, you can put it in the chat. Okay? So 99 minus 33 gives me
66.
66.
This is crazy.
All right, and now my last step.
Oh, I'm not on mute. My bad, man.
Last step, what do?
Do you divide? Or you
Yeah,
don't divide?
we do divide, yeah.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Just like a normal equation, we're gonna divide. And what do I get?
0.5.
5.5, good. So that's telling me that each shirt, in order to stay under budget, each shirt has to be less than or equal to $5.50. So if she goes above that, then she's gonna go over budget. She could still go below. If she finds a cheaper shirt than that, that's even better. It's just that she can't go above it. Any questions so far? It's basically just like solving a regular equation. It is going to get a little bit trickier depending on a couple of things. So let's go ahead and look at a couple more questions. So I'm actually going to skip this one because it's very, very similar. Okay. So I have equations now that get a little more complicated because they have fractions. However, just like I'm saying, we're still going to follow those same steps. So with number 5, I have fractions and I have parentheses. Which one of those two things should I take care of first? The fractions or the parentheses?
Parentheses.
Parentheses, I got 1 vote for parentheses.
Fractions.
1 vote for fractions. Another vote for fractions.
Fraction.
Fractions.
Parentheses.
Parentheses. We could go either way, but fractions are winning right now. So if you prefer parentheses, go for it. See if you get the same answer as me. If you prefer fractions, that's what I'm going to do on my side. So if I want to get rid of this fraction, 4 over 3, what do I do to both sides?
Multiply by 3.
Good, multiply by 3. On both sides. That's going to eliminate the denominator. So the 3's cancel out. I'm left with 4. And nothing changes inside my parentheses. On the right side.
I got a question. For
Yeah.
are you are you gonna post this on like the theme
Mhm.
so you could go back? Okay.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's recording right now. All right, then 4 times 3 gives me 12. So one step, boom, I'm done. I'm out. I'm rid of my parentheses. Now I have to keep going. Sorry, I'm rid of my fractions. Now I have to keep going and do my parentheses. So step 1 was multiply. Step 2, now I can
24x plus 36.
Good. And if you prefer to distribute first, you will probably have the same thing that I get at the very end. But I just think this way is easier because now I don't have to think about multiplying fractions. If I decided to distribute in step 1, I would have had to multiply 6 times 4 over 3 and 9 times 4 over 3, which is just a little harder. So I prefer to do it this way because it makes it a little bit easier for myself. All right. I've distributed. What do I do now?
Subtract 36.
Yeah, subtract 36. $12 minus 36. What's that going to be?
Negative 24.
Good. Negative 24, and then final step.
-1.
Divide.
Good, divide. Now remember, we still have a symbol, so don't forget that your final answer is still going to have that symbol in there. And what's that symbol again? Is that greater than, less than? What is it?
Less.
Good. It looks like an L, so it's less than. So L or X is less than -1. Not too bad. Not too bad. It's very similar to solving equations. So it's actually, if you're still having trouble with solving equations, we're still practicing the same exact things. It's just that the symbol is different. Now, number 6, that's going to give us a little bit of trouble because, like I say, 90% of the time you can get rid of your fraction in the first step. But now, where's my fraction located?
In the
Parentheses.
parentheses.
It's inside. And remember, parentheses are kind of like a little safe house. You can't really do anything. You can't touch what's on the inside until you get rid of your parentheses. Since my fraction's inside, I can't really do much about it. So I have to distribute first. So let's see what happens when I distribute first. All right, so I have -2 times 1/4. What does that give me?
Would that be like -2
That would be negative, not just -2,
x?
not
-2x.
-2x. Mm-mm.
Negative half.
Hey, Miss, we have to first multiply -2 times 1,
Mm-hmm.
divide to 4, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
So when you do that, -2 times 1 is what? -2 times 1.
-2.
-2. Now I have -2/4, which Ascanio simplified for us. When you simplify this, what does that become?
-1 2x.
-1/2. Exactly. So all we did was instead of dividing by 4, because it's not going to give us a whole number, all we did was we simplified that fraction. That's -1/2 x.
So if it, oh,
You can also think about it like you're taking 1/4 and you're multiplying that by 2. So if you take 2/4, put them together, you get 1/2. It turns into 1/2. Like 2/4 make a 50 cents. Okay, then I'm doing -2 times +2. What's that?
-2.
Times +2.
-4x.
-4, just -4.
I mean, yeah.
Is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, that was the tough part because we had to multiply a fraction and a whole number. So if you're stuck on that part, you can ask a question now so I can go over it real quick. If you're not sure how I got 1/2. Okay, so now I can go ahead and go to step 2. I'm trying to get x by itself, so what can I move over to the other side?
Four.
Yeah, move that 4 over. What operation can I use?
Addition?
Addition.
Exactly. You're gonna add 4. All right, I add 4. I'm left with -1/2 x is greater than or equal to 9. And in my last step, usually my last step is to divide, but in this case, I have a fraction. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to divide.
Multiply?
Multiply, yeah. And what should I multiply by? What number?
2.
2. Now, I have a negative fraction. So when I multiply, I'm also going to
Yes.
want to get rid of that negative. So I'm going to multiply by not just 2, but negative 2. And here's where we,
Wait, Miss, why?
because I have a negative fraction. If I don't multiply by a negative 2, it's going to leave me with a negative. And I want to get rid of that negative. So when I multiply, if I'm multiplying by negative 2, it automatically eliminates not just the fraction, but also the negative sign. Now, here's the most important part. You guys got to write this down. When you multiply or divide by a negative, something important and special is going to happen. What happens is the sign will flip. So I started with a greater than or equal to sign. And when I do this math, my fraction cancels out, my negative cancels out. I have x, and on the right side, I have negative 18. But my sign goes from being a greater than or equal to sign to a less than or equal to sign. And that happens anytime that you multiply or divide by a negative number. Very, very, very important to remember this.
Wait, say that again, Miss.
When you multiply or divide by a negative, so in this case, I multiplied by what? Negative 2. Negative 2. Since I multiplied by a negative number, my sign flipped. It went from being greater than, it flipped over, now it's less than. We're going to do a couple more examples like this. Do I have any questions?
Why did you multiply by 2 in purple?
Okay, so why did I multiply by 2? Because, let me erase all this. Because what I had was a fraction. I had -1/2, -1/2. And anytime you have a fraction, the only way to get rid of it is to multiply by what?
2?
By the demand.
The denominator.
By the denominator,
okay.
exactly. In this case, it was a 2. But whichever fraction you have, you always look at the denominator, and that's the number that you're going to multiply by. Now, I also multiplied by -2 because I wanted to get rid of that negative symbol. That's why. Anyone else? Okay. So, solving inequalities is exactly like solving equations, except when you do this negative symbol. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, it's going to flip your sign around. So let's do a couple more problems. And when we do these problems, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to graph the inequalities. So we're adding one more step, but you guys, I promise you, everything will be just fine. It's not too hard. I'll show you why. All right. So we're going to solve for W. What's the one issue I have to solve here?
The variables
Yeah, there's variables where?
Both
on
sides.
the other side.
Both sides. So which one should I move?
145.
Exactly. This is very important, you guys. Even though the 145W is by itself, when I move it, there's going to be nothing left. But bear with me, because once we do the next step, it'll go back to looking like normal. So we always want to move things to the left. Even if you think you might want to move it to the right, no. If you have a variable, you want it on the left side, not the right side. And you'll see why in just a second. All right. So to move it over, what operation do I use?
Subtraction.
Subtraction.
Mm-hmm. So minus 145W minus 145W. On the left side, I have 650, that stays the same. And then I'm doing 80 minus 145. What do I get?
Negative 65.
Good, negative 65. W. My symbol stays the same because I haven't multiplied or divided. And then I had 145W, I took it away, so I am left with
Negative 65W, but then when you subtract it, it goes back, right? It goes to the left.
right. So
Miss.
at this point, I have nothing at all on the right, so I have a 0.
But why did you have to go? Why did you put it with the variable?
Why did I put what? Say that one more time.
The negative 145.
I put it underneath the variable because it has a variable. You have to put it with the same term. So I can't put it under the 650. You have to put it under the 80.
But why with a variable?
Because it started out with a variable.
Oh,
It had a W on it.
okay, miss.
Okay. So now I'm trying to get W alone on the left side. So what am I moving over to the right side?
650.
650.
Good. What do I do to move it?
Subtract.
Add.
We're going to
Add.
subtract. Because I'm not looking at the negative symbol that comes after it. I have to look in front.
Oh, yeah.
There's an invisible plus sign here because it's a positive 650. That's why I'm subtracting. Okay. So now I'm left with negative 65W is less than what?
650.
650.
So I subtracted it. So it's not, is it going to be positive or,
Negative.
yeah, it's going to be negative. You got it. Now we're back to looking like a normal equation, right? Now we're good. We got one more step. What do I do in my last step?
Divide.
Divide.
Good. And what am I dividing by?
Negative 65.
Negative
But since both
65.
are in negative, they'll stay the same though.
So now alarm bells go off because I have a negative. I'm going to divide by a negative. What happens to my symbol?
It changes to a positive.
Don't say positive. It goes from being less than to being
Greater than.
greater than. So this is now greater than, and now I do my math. Negative 650 divided by negative 65 gives me?
So you put the W there because you just bring it down, or why
Yeah,
did you
because I'm just dividing. So my 65s cancel out, and I'm left with?
Oh,
And
Negative 715.
We're dividing. Negative 650 divided by negative 65 gives me 10. So my final answer is W is greater than 10. Does anyone have a question on why any part of this problem, what I did? Make sure you understand. Okay. So now we're gonna graph it. Graphing is super easy, you guys. So I don't want you to stress out about the graphing part because it's actually really easy. All you're gonna do is you're gonna make a number line on your paper. You're gonna put like 5 points down. Make the one, whatever you got as your answer, make that the middle one. So I got 10, that's why I'm putting 10 in the middle. And I'm just gonna put a couple more numbers down. So you just make a little number line. And what symbol do I have there? What was my final answer? W is
W is greater than 10.
greater than 10, right? So if W is greater than 10, can W equal 10?
No.
Right. So it cannot equal 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an open circle on the 10 because it can't equal it. So I'm not going to shade it in. I'm going to keep it open. And then I'm going to draw an arrow pointing in the same direction as my symbol. So my symbol is kind of pointing to the right side. So I'm going to make an arrow pointing to the right side. That's my graph. We're going to do this a couple more times. So if you guys are confused right now, we'll do it a few more times. Hopefully it'll make a little more sense. But basically, you look at the number you got. I got 10. I'm putting an open circle because my answer has to be greater than 10. It can't equal 10. It has to be greater than 10. And then I make an arrow that goes in the same direction as my symbol. Does anybody want to ask a question about this before I go to the next one?
Me. So if it's less than, the circle had to be colored in.
So if it were this sign, if it was greater than or equal to, then I would color in my circle, yeah. But since it's just greater than, I am not going to color it in.
So if it has a line under, basically you
You shade it in, yeah.
shade it.
Yeah. I think the next example has a line under it, so you'll see what that looks like. Okay, let's try it. Yeah, see? So this one does have a line underneath, so you'll see what that looks like. Let's go ahead. Same thing we've been doing. Let's go ahead and solve. The more and more you do this, the more almost like boring it becomes, because that means if you are bored by this, it means you're doing well on it. It means you know how to do it. So I know we've been doing a lot of problems together, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. Let's see how fast we can go through this one. What's my step 1 going to be?
That's
I heard parentheses. Good. Distribute. Okay. Does anything happen to that first 5?
Nope.
No.
5x.
Yeah, just stays. Then, now I can go ahead and multiply. So 5 times x, 5x. 5 times 4?
20.
20. Good. Everything else stays the same. Step 2, what should I do? Look at carefully.
Combine like terms.
You got it. Good job. We're going to combine like terms. Which terms are my like terms?
20 and 5.
5 plus 5.
20 and 5.
Oh.
Because they do not have a variable.
Mhm.
So 20 plus 5, 25. I bring down my 5x. I bring everything down. So make sure when you're combining like terms, it's either they both have a variable or they both don't have a variable. All right, we're getting x alone. Who needs to go away?
25.
And what do I do to get it out?
Subtract.
There we go. Good job. You guys are doing so well at this. All right. So I have 5x. What's that symbol? Less than or equal to. Good. And what's 20 minus 25?
Negative 5.
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Perfect. My final step.
Divide.
You got it. Now I'm dividing by positive 5. Even though I have a negative 5 to start with, we're not looking at the number on top. I'm looking at the number underneath. Since that 5 underneath is a positive 5, does my sign flip? Good. No. No flipping today because it doesn't matter what's on top. It matters which number you're dividing by. And right now I'm only dividing by a positive, so it does not flip. And I get -1.
Do we graph this? Like graph it?
Yeah, we're going to graph it now. So I'm going to graph. I'm going to put 5 lines down, put my -1 in the middle. Now, what do I write to the right of this?
Positive.
0.
I mean,
0 and then 1.
0, then 1. And then to the left, I keep getting more negative. Okay, now I'm going to put down my dot. Since I have a less than or equal to sign,
you circle it in.
I'm going to
It's
circle
close.
it in. It's a closed circle, exactly. Because equal to means that it can be that number. And then is my arrow going to point to the left or to the right?
The
The
left.
left.
Good. If you're ever confused about which direction, just remember that it goes in the same direction as the symbol that you have. And that symbol that I have points to the left. So that's how I can remember that my arrow also has to point to the left. Okay, I want to see how we're feeling. So you can give me a thumbs up, you can give me a thumbs down, or anything else of how you're feeling. If you want to do like a thumbs to the side, that's kind of like, you'll get it with more practice. Okay, I see thumbs ups and thumbs to the sides. I see a clapping emoji. I hope that means it's a good thing. Thumbs to the side. Okay. So hopefully, as we keep practicing it, oh, cool. Thumbs up. We're going to do, I think, 2 more problems. So let's see if by the end of the day you feel a little bit better. All right. Any questions on this one or anything, any part of this question, of this problem? Okay. All right. I'm putting down a really challenging one on purpose because I want you guys to see what this is going to look like as an inequality. Even though it looks super challenging, even though there's a lot going on, we're still going to follow those same steps. Take a second to write it down. Okie dokes. So I know that I have all the classic 3 things. I have fractions,
Parentheses.
I've got parentheses, and I've got variables on both sides. So there's a lot going on, and we always have to figure out what to do first. In this case, should I do my fractions first or should I do my parentheses first?
Parentheses.
Parentheses.
Definitely parentheses. How do I know that that has to come first?
Because it's
The fractions
the
inside.
other side.
Right, because it's inside. It's protected by the parentheses. So you can't deal with your fractions yet. So you have to do the parentheses first. And we're going to do it on both sides. Now see if you can do this on your own. I bet the majority of you can actually do this on your own. Just distribute. See what you get. Challenge yourself. Take 2 minutes, challenge yourself. Even if it's completely wrong, then I'm going to show you how to do it right. Okay, let's see if what you have is correct. So I'm distributing. Oh, you want one more second? Okay.
Miss, I haven't even finished writing the thing.
Oh my God, Melanie. Y'all want to get out of here on time today?
Yeah, Miss, but I'm trying to write it.
Okay, okay. Okay, just take a couple seconds.
How do you not get tired of teaching the same thing for like 8 classes? That's like, I always wonder teachers, like, they get bored.
So what do you think is in my cup, first of all? I drink like 5 cups of coffee each day. Okay, now I'm gonna go through it. So I have to multiply 8 times 1/4. What do I get? 8 times 1/4.
Half.
1/2?
Half.
Ascanio, what did you say?
I say nothing.
Oh, someone said something.
2.
Oh, it was Wenchley. 2. Okay, so that's where you have to be very careful. Wenchley is correct. This is 8 times 1/4. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 divided by 4, that's 2.
I give up. Miss.
So it's not 1/2, it's 2. You have to be very careful about that. All right, so I get 2x.
Oh, yeah.
Now I do 8 times -3, I get
24.
24.
-24. Everything else stays. Now over here I have 4 times x. That's 4x.
X plus 20.
And then 20. Okay, moving on. What do I do next? What should I do next?
Combine like
The
terms.
variable. Oh.
Combine like terms.
And it's going to be 24 with 24.
Yeah. So we have -24 and +24. What does that do?
If we combine them, it makes them a 0.
It makes it 0, exactly. When you combine those together, you get 0. So it basically cancels them out, and you can bring everything else down. So these 24s are no longer, they're out. So now I just have 2x is less than 4x plus 20. I am solving for x, so what do I do next?
I think
Divide.
you take the 4x.
Keep going, Zakai, you got it.
You take the 4x and you subtract it by the 2x.
Good girl, yeah. We're gonna subtract it to get it to the other side. Remember, I always want everything on the left. So if you're not sure which one has to go where, remember, if it's on the right, like this 4x was, we want that on the other side. So that's why we're subtracting. Alrighty. 2 minus 4 gives me
Negative
-2x.
-2x. Over here on the right, I'm left with just 20. And I have one last step. What's my last step?
Divide.
Divide -2.
Divide by -2. So what happens here?
The thing switches, the sign.
The sign flips, exactly. So I go from being a less than, now I'm greater than. Greater than -10. Notice how on this question we got super lucky because in step 1 when we distributed, that automatically also got rid of our fractions. So that was kind of nice.
I kind of get it now.
That's good. If you're feeling, even if you're still, like, if it's still difficult, that's okay, because I'm not saying these are easy. Even if you're the smartest person in this room, they're not easy problems. You just have to, if you feel, once I go over it, if you understand why I did each step, that's what you should do. That's a good thing. If you're looking at this and you're like, Miss, you could be writing Chinese right now and I would not understand anything, that's a different issue. So if you're still feeling that way, like I see Melanie nodding her head, if you're still feeling that way, you know, just keep coming to class, keep going over your notes. You can always go back to the YouTube videos and watch the YouTube videos, study, do your Khan Academy. You know, there's a lot of things you can do, but
My YouTube, follow my Instagram.
follow my YouTube, follow my
Miss,
Instagram.
thing is, math is confusing. My
Math-
brain doesn't function. It doesn't
It
process
doesn't
that.
Melanie, if your brain didn't function that way, you wouldn't be here right now. You got into algebra because you
Period.
did well at math. Period.
Last year, because that one was
Period,
easy.
miss.
All right, so here I'm gonna just graph it. I'm gonna finish this out and graph it. I just made my little number line. Is it gonna be an open circle or a closed circle?
Open.
Open, because it's greater than. There's
Period.
no line underneath, right? So since there's no line underneath, that's how I know it's gonna be open. And is it pointing to the right or is it pointing to the left?
To the right.
Good. Remember, it points in the same direction that your symbol points. My symbol points to the right, so I'm gonna go to the right. Okay. Hopefully, I still have some of you here who are feeling pretty good about this. Remember, the more you practice, the better you do. So tomorrow we're gonna practice all of this. We're not learning anything new tomorrow, we're just practicing. So you'll get another opportunity, kind of like yesterday, to work in groups and practice. That's what's gonna make you perfect. So the more you practice, even if you make mistakes, even if your entire thing is wrong, you still gotta try it, and that's the only way. So we're ending a little bit early, which is good. Reminder that your homework from Monday is due today. So there's one homework assignment you'll see is due tonight at midnight. And then I put up a second assignment, which is due Friday at midnight. The second assignment is like today's class. So if you were a little confused about today's class, you can look at the assignment and try it out and see how you're doing. Do I have any questions on that?
No.
Awesome. Okay. So my last announcement is if you guys were ending early on purpose, because right now in a couple of minutes, Mr. St. Rose is going to be doing a